Minister, the importance of broadband.
Look, I've become such a convert and an evangelist almost for broadband, Rob. It's so critical to our future, and particularly when you think about the rural areas. They haven't been well served with broadband in the past, and I think we're going to see this incredible transformation in rural New Zealand. I mean, if you think just staffing alone, it's hard to get anyone under the age of sort of 30 to do anything if they haven't got good instant data, if they can't Facebook and text and Skype and be in touch with the rest of the world. So getting staff out to rural areas, we know broadband's important. We know it's important for communicating with bankers and suppliers and the like. But where it gets really interesting is when you see some of the on-farm technology developments, whether it's precision-based agriculture, GPS, fertiliser and ploughing, but even what's called the machine-to-machine communication. So increasingly we're seeing so many on-farm applications using real-time sensors monitoring and talking back to base camp, if you like. So you can have a farm owner in their office, frankly on the farm or the other side of the world, monitoring real-time production, animal health, grass cover, water levels, effluent pond, stock movements, staffing hours, and not only being able to keep very good tabs on what's happening on the farm, but also as a very valuable business tool to plan and to progress. And quite apart from that, you've got suddenly the access for our children in small rural schools getting access to the best information in the world. The school of 30 kids who can now offer Mandarin classes or advanced physics, and they never would have had the ability to do that. And then you get into health, it just gets better. And some of the things I see in health now that are set up to allow people to stay in their own homes as elderly people and have real-time monitoring of their health conditions rather than have to go away out of the community and into hospitals and into rest homes. So it really is going to, I think, transform and revitalise rural communities, and that's why we're so passionate to get broadband out to almost everyone in New Zealand.
Is there a bit of a hang-up with people who don't think they can get broadband because they haven't looked at the new systems?
Yeah, look, that's right. So what we get a lot of is people thinking if they can't get broadband through their old copper phone line, then they haven't got broadband. The reality is these days broadband comes in many shapes and forms. And in rural New Zealand, one of the most effective ways we're getting broadband out to people is through what we call fixed wireless. So effectively that means off a cell phone tower, a signal goes from the tower to a little dish or aerial on your roof and then feeds down into your house in the normal way. And I have so many people writing to me in my office saying, I've got lousy broadband, and they're just using the same old connection they've had for 20 years. And when we say to them, hey, did you know you can get RBI fixed wireless, and when they realise that they get a speed increase of 10, 20, 50%. I've got one business, Robin, well there's more, but one business in the Bay of Islands wrote to me the other day telling us that off their fixed wireless connection under the RBI program, they're getting speeds equivalent of having a fibre connection into their house. So 100 megabits a second for those techies who follow along with that, but that's world-leading fibre-like speeds off these fixed wireless towers. So it's an incredibly good service. But, I do get frustrated because I know there's so many people still dealing with very, very slow, long copper lead-in off their phone lines and wondering why they've got such lousy broadband. So my first suggestion would be go to broadbandmap.org.nz, put in your address, and it will tell you what broadband is available at your house, what your options are, and be prepared to try a new sort of connection. You might be surprised what you can already get.
So literally it's a case of a lot of people don't have it or don't think they have it because they just don't know about it.
Yeah, that's right. They haven't sort of thought that there are other options. They still think the only way to get broadband is through your phone line coming into the house. And actually the options are many and varied. Even over, your straight cellular connection through your phone now, you can get much cheaper, much better data and broadband than people have been used to. But even in the very remotest parts of New Zealand, if you can get absolutely nothing else, there are usually some satellite options. And they get a bit more expensive, but when you've had nothing, something's pretty good. So first lesson, check what you can get. Be prepared to try something new and try a new provider. And if it's not quite to you yet, it's coming soon. We're a long way through the rollout of the first stage of our broadband programs. So probably people hopefully are aware that we've been doing both what we call UFB, which is in the built-up urban areas. That covers about 75% of New Zealanders so far. And then we're doing the RBI, which is the rural program that sits alongside it. And that RBI is about 87% complete through stage 1. And that will take this high-speed broadband out to 97.8% of us, which is great. But actually, we're not stopping there. We want to now go on and take that even further. So we're taking fibre, UFB, out to 80% of all New Zealanders, and that's not just the big cities. That's towns like Tokoroa and Oamaru and Ashburton and Blenheim, and so it really gets into our regional communities. But outside that, we also want to go further and faster. So we're putting another 150 million into RBI, which will take that rural broadband out even further and even faster.
Changing the subject, I guess a lot of people are picking on dairying at the moment, but it's got far-reaching effects on a lot of people.
Yeah, it is. So obviously I'm the MP for Selwyn. It's a big rural community, and what I've been seeing certainly in my electorate is that the dairy price dropping is having a flow-through effect right through the agriculture sector. And I think this is something that isn't possibly getting enough airtime, which is that there probably isn't a mixed farming operation in New Zealand that isn't affected by the low dairy prices. So what I mean by that is that the arable farmers who are growing feed grain are finding it sitting in their silos, not getting away, and suddenly the market is just almost gone overnight for some of their product. The sheep and crop farmers are often providing some dairy support or growing a standing feed crop to support the dairy farmers, and that's, as I say, either gone or cut right back. So while the dairy prices are what everyone's focused on and the impact on dairy farmers, actually that financial effect flows right through the agriculture sector. And then, of course, if it affects the agriculture sector, it flows into our small towns. So every business in our small rural towns will certainly feel the effect. I notice that some of our machinery suppliers, for example, are cutting their prices significantly because nothing's moving. So we are going to see, I think, an effect right through the ag sector. On the upside, there are a number of other sectors that are really having very good, strong seasons. So, fisheries are very good. Wine is going incredibly well for New Zealanders. The beef schedule has still been good. I know it's more North Island, but kiwi fruit is flying along. Tourism numbers have gone through the roof. So while there's certainly some tough times on the farm and right through those rural communities, it's important to remember that there are a number of sectors that are doing really well, and so there's reason to be positive, but still tough times for those in core agriculture.
So it's two sides to the coin.
Two sides to the coin, and look, there always are, and that's why it's important that New Zealand has such a diverse economy. And so, going back to where I was, technology is pretty important to making sure that we have a number of options. Now you can run a global business from anywhere in New Zealand, so perhaps if the times are a bit tight, it might be time to think about some other options.